Do we ever resist raising our standards to achieve a certain goal? Have you ever found yourself, I know I have many times, where I'm achieving a certain level of, of performance or excellence when in reality there's a whole big area over here which I could step into if I raise my level of, if I raise my standard, if I raise my level of, getting more out of my body, more out of my business, more out of my performance in sports or my relationship. And so what I wanted to share with you, hey Kathy, welcome. What I wanted to share with you is a couple of examples in raising the bar or kind of raising our standard in our pursuit. I've mentioned it many times, that's why I wear it on my wrist, in our pursuit of excellence. Let me start with one of the journeys I've been on since the 6th grade, which is my sporting life, my aspect of myself that loves physical movement. Let me give you one example. It was, I think I was in about 10th grade in high school, and hey Kathy, thanks. I was in a 2 races back to back. I was in a training mode, and one of my favorite coaches was there with me at the race, supporting me and doing some coaching with me and some other athletes. And the 2-mile race was before the 10K, and I got in the 2-mile, and I found myself about a mile into this 2-mile race, and I was at about maybe 5th or 6th place, and I was in a comfort zone. I was running along at a good clip. I was in 5th or 6th place, but I saw my coach, and he was actually red in the face, and he looked at me and he yelled, "Robert, get your butt in gear," in a good way. Get your butt in gear and just win the darn thing. You're not running at what you can. Make it happen, And that was all I needed for someone to believe that, wow, if our coach believes that I can just shift gears here, shift into a gear and win this race, let's do it. So sure enough, I picked up the pace, raised my level of standard, raised my level of what I thought I could do, and pushed myself, okay? Raised the bar, if you will. And sure enough, over the next half mile or so, I passed the next 3 or 4 runners, and I was able to do a push on one of the last heels and push the other guy, and I won the 2-mile race. And the cool part about the story is then we were all recovering and warming down, and then about 20 minutes later, the 10K race started, and I decided to hop into that race from a training perspective. And a cool thing happened in the 10K even. I was about halfway into the 10K, maybe 3 or miles in. I was running with a group of, in a small pack of 3 or 4 other runners. And on one of the hills, we were all breathing pretty heavy, cruising along. And one of the runners said, "Hey, aren't you the guy that just ran the 2-mile and won the 2-mile?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, okay, wow, man." And because none of the other 10K runners had ran the 2-mile, they were all focused on the one race. And because my coach nudged me and believed in me, and I raised the bar, this runner's expectation of what he could do, it tapered down, if you will. And on the next, as I finished the hill, he faded along with the 2 or 3 other guys, and I was able to gain about 5 or 6 positions in this 10K, and partially because in the previous race I had raised the bar, raised my standards, partially because I gave myself permission to pursue that next level of excellence. I raised my standards, and the other reason is because I had a coach, an outside person, if you will, in my support environment, which believed in me and said, "Robert, just get it done. What are you doing? Get the butt in gear, win the race." And it changed. It had a domino effect. And another example is just recently, this morning. I know many of you know I do cross country ski marathons. In the winter I do a number of races where it's 50 kilometers. It's about 32 miles, if you will. I do several of those races in the year, and next year, thanks Kathy, hey Dean, next year, I'm raising the bar, okay, if you will. My goal is to improve my time in my 50K race right by about 15 minutes, which is a big margin. And for me to do that, I tend to ski in a certain gear, a certain comfort zone. I have a gear or a speed that's become kind of the speed that I go out and cruise at. So in order for me to improve my time dramatically next year in my races, my racing season, because one of the World Cups is coming to the U.S. Masters, I have to raise the bar and get more comfortable at a higher gear and skiing, and get comfortable in that higher gear for like almost 3 hours in the ski race, which is what it takes next year to do my race. Less than that, obviously, about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So, but in order for me to get to that time goal, I have to keep raising the bar and get comfortable at a higher level of excellence or higher gear. So how does that apply to our business? Well, my goodness, it applies in so many ways. One example is I started a new accountability with one of my new business partners, and we have a program that's in our business. It's called Healthy Mind and Body. It's a wonderful program which rewires your habits and helps you move from, over here when you want to go over here. You're going to go through deception, questioning your identity, falling back, etc., until you reach this place over here where the new habits are in place, if you will. And part of that, when I did this program in the past, I would find myself at, there's a high level of accountability, especially when you have an accountability partner you're committed to. And I would find myself at 11:45 p.m. at night, oh my goodness, grabbing the computer. I'm ready to fall asleep because I got to get up and train the next morning or whatever. And, I got to do Healthy Mind and Body. And once I'm into it, I love it, obviously. But a shift in my standard is, why don't I start to build the new habit of incorporating that one routine into my morning rituals? And so it's so empowering. This morning I'm shifting gears, and I was able to ping or text message my accountability partner. Thank you, Tracy, if you watch this later. And it was so empowering to include my Healthy Mind and Body routine, which takes about 10 minutes or so, not that long, into my morning ritual. And I was able to ping her and say, hey, I took a snapshot of my screen, which 100% completed for the day. And it was so empowering to raise my standard and to raise the bar on what I'm willing to accept in my pursuit of excellence in my business. So in our business, to give you an idea, Joy and I have enjoyed the fruits of our labors for many years. It's called residual income. Now we're in a phase of our business now. We're making a really nice push. We're expanding into Europe. We have a whole new level of accountability and daily activities that we do. And part of that, turning that new leaf and chapter and upping our results a number of levels, which we're doing, and our team also is doing, we have to lead by example, is to raise my standard of what I'm willing to accept as my level I'm willing to do. Like, hey Jerry, like, go back to my race. If number one, you have a coach and a mentor saying, get your butt in gear, you can do a whole lot more than you're doing. Come on. You just do it, It's like, okay, thank you, and I see you believe in me. I tend to have a much softer approach to coaching and mentoring. So when somebody gets aggressive and say, get your butt in gear, what are you doing? You can do a lot more than you're doing. I can receive it if it's done in the right way. So part of my goal is to find other people who kick me in the butt, but also being willing to accept that and to say, hey, am I really doing the best I can do? Am I willing to accept where I've been? Am I willing to to incorporate some new routines, and to replace some of these old built-in habits. Yes, we've had success, and all of us have had success at all kinds of levels. The question is, if we have a loftier vision over here, which from my journey, hey Jerry, from my journey it's always tied to contribution and serving other people. That's the driving force within me. All of us have our different driving things that motivate us, okay? So if I have a loftier vision over here, it's going to demand of me that I raise my standards of what I'm willing to do at a higher level, not so much even a lot more time, as opposed to a lot more smarter, more effective use of my time, and not accepting the old, maybe some of the things I was doing which are more disempowering, or just would lessen my ability to be effective, and to again raise the bar of what I'm willing to accept. In order, is my bar at a certain level that's building these new habits, these new daily rituals, these new activities in my business life that will lead me to that big BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal. How many of us can relate to the fact that, I know I can relate to this, so hopefully you can as well. I'd love to get your comments if you can relate to this at the bottom here. How many of us can relate to the fact that we set through our lives certain points of our life, whether it's a relationship goal, a business goal, could be tied to physical fitness, your health, weight loss, etc., where this kind of a more lofty goal, and you had this lofty goal and you started it well. You started it like in a race. The first 100, 200 yards, you're up there right in the pack of the top 10 or whatever. And then because you were willing to accept a less painful route, or you wanted to get back into a more comfortable place, you maybe lowered your standards, and you kind of step back into those old habits, those old, maybe a little more less effective daily routines, daily rituals, and even the mindset, and you lowered the bar. One of my questions, which I forget which mentor, Andy Andrews talked about this. He said, here's one way to look at it. And whether you do or not, it's okay, but it's one way to visualize this process. Do you believe there's a divine creator? Do you believe in a God? I would say, heavens, yes. No question, certainty. Okay. Are we made, if there is a God and you believe in him, do you believe that we're made in his image? Do you believe that he put a lot of power and light inside of us? Yes. So if we're made in our Creator's image, what do you think that he expects of us? Does he expect mediocrity? Does he expect us to keep the bar very, very low and stay in a comfortable place? Or do you think he expects us to step into, I love to call it our divine birthright, if you will. What is the level of expectation there? What is it? And are we willing to accept the fact and to keep lowering our standards to a point where we stay in that comfortable place without ever pushing? Remember in that race, I would have never won that. It was a small race. It was in Louisiana. There was a place called Fort Polk there. It was on a military base. And again, in the big scheme of things, wasn't that big of a race, but it was instrumental. I never forget the race. One reason is because I saw where, with belief from the outside and somebody nudging me, and then, okay, I believe that. He believes in me. Why don't I raise the bar, raise my level of expectation? And, I won the race, actually pretty easily. So the same applies to our business, the same applies to our relationship. All I'm asking myself, and all I'm asking you to ask yourself is, all of us, typically most of us have our dream and vision tied to our family, relationship, fun, contribution, on many levels. All I'm saying and suggesting that, are we willing to accept this level here, which a lot of times, because of the human condition, and I'm preaching to the choir for myself, am I willing to accept this level and just pushing it a little bit here, a little bit there, but I'm willing to accept this level of comfort or standard? And is it what my Creator would want, you know? Or am I willing to raise the bar incrementally, and then I fall back at times? I will need to give myself grace at times. And am I willing to keep becoming and reinventing myself? Which means going through the journey, it is a journey, of replacing those more disempowering habits which lead to my comfort zone, the bar right here. Or am I willing to go through self-deception, the new identity crisis, questioning myself, falling, etc., to get to that new level where I have more empowering habits, more empowering mindset, and at a higher level of, I call it vibration. Everything is energy. It's the way God made us. Am I willing to raise the bar incrementally, fall back at times, give myself grace, and then raise the bar? Am I willing to do that? And the key that I found is it demands that we have a level of accountability, that we learn what truly those empowering habits look like. Number 3, obviously, my faith, it's tied to a higher purpose, okay, and a higher Creator. And number 4, is this vision, this destination, this place here of being, if you will, it's embracing the journey, but is it worthy of the divine the miracle that we are? All I'm saying is that demands that we keep raising this bar with grace, forgiveness, and keep reinventing ourselves. Love to get your comments below, guys, and have an amazing day, and let's keep raising the bar. Have an amazing day, and you deserve it.